Allbirds.
Out front now, Dean Obeidallah, columnist for the Daily Beast, and legal analyst Mark O'Mara. Mark, you just heard the father of those two young women say, this has hate crime written all over it. You're saying not so fast.
Not so fast. I mean, certainly this screams out for some type of an explanation over and above a parking spot dispute. But we see so many cases of road rage and other situations where people just get out of control immediately, but it's not necessarily because of a person's religion or race. I do think it's a great idea for the FBI to be doing an investigation. And what a hate crime investigation is, it's a focus or a filter through which you look at everything that this guy did leading up to the death. And remember, the hate crime is supposed to be there to enhance the penalty if you acted a certain way. This man is looking, Hicks is looking at death penalty eligible, 3 first-degree murder cases in North Carolina. He is looking at a life sentence no matter what.
Now, Dean, it is, as I think Mark fairly says, it's impossible for people to imagine this being a dispute over a parking spot, although we have heard horrific stories of road rage. Why are you so sure that it was a hate crime as opposed to an ongoing dispute and they happen to be Muslim?
In my mind, after speaking to 2 friends of the victim, seeing the comments of the father, I have no doubt in my mind that the fact that they were Muslim plays a role. In fact, I will tell you, I believe in my heart, if they were not Muslim, they would be alive today. And there's a reason I say that, not just gut feeling. When you see the media reports, the people in the neighborhood said this man had given many people problems over their parking spots. In fact, they had a community meeting in that complex about the man, and they were going to go to the police. They didn't. He only targeted the Muslims. He only killed the 3 Muslims, and they were the only Muslims that live in that complex. He didn't go down the hall and shoot other people who lived there that he had problems with. He shot those 3, and then he turned himself into the police.
So let me ask you this, though, because back in 2010, when the suspect responded to someone on his Facebook page, said, well, Muslims are responsible for 9/11. That was what was posted. Here's what the suspect responded back. You of all people are smart enough to know that those were extremists. They were not practicing Islam any more than Jim Jones and David Koresh practiced Christianity. That does not sound like somebody who had hate against Muslims.
Well, 2 things. One, that's from 2010. Second, I'm not saying he's a man, a raving anti-Muslim bigot. I see those people on Facebook and Twitter daily. We interact and they fight. This is a man, I think, when push came to shove, he had a moment, he cracked. And the victim of that crime was going to be the person who's been demonized in the media for the last few years, from first by ISIS and Al-Qaeda, have painted a horrible picture of who we are, let's be honest. Then you have Republican politicians ginning up the hate and anti-Muslim bigots ginning up the hate. He's in North Carolina, where they just passed an anti-Sharia law legislation a year ago. Around that passage, a lot of hateful stuff about Muslims.
So Mark, when you hear Dean's arguments here, does it convince you?
It doesn't convince me, but what he does acknowledge, and what Erin, you and I have talked about, are what we have now today is these subtle biases, almost these limbic brain biases that show up in people. It is not active, but we know, and I will agree with what he just said, there's a good chance that if those victims were not Muslim, they may be alive today. But that subtle bias that may have affected this guy's otherwise bizarre behavior may not make it a hate crime. But that's not enough to make it a hate crime? It may not be, because we have to, beyond a reasonable doubt, we have to prove that his intent was because of a protected class. And look, if it shows up in his social media, if it shows up somewhere, then we will have the opportunity for hate crime investigation to continue.
All right. Well, thanks very much to both of you. And next, Bob Simon. He survived countless close calls in the field reporting, only to die in a tragic car crash near his home. Out front tonight, his former